Hey, what's up everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. It is that time of the month. Time to go over my favorite metal albums that were released this past month, January 2023. Wow, what a month. A lot of times January doesn't have that many great releases, but this month has been absolutely stacked. As you'll see from this list, runs the gamut of all different subgenres within metal, as is usually the case with my lists. I mean, half of it is about half of it is black metal because that is my go-to genre, but you'll see there's a lot of other stuff on here too. I've got doom metal, power metal, traditional metal, death metal, you name it. There's at least one or two albums on here. Usually when I do these lists for the month, there's about 10 or 15 albums I'll talk about. But this month, there's so many great albums. I actually have 20 albums that I'm going to talk about. There's even more that I didn't include on this list that are still worth listening to as well. And I'm sure there's some that I've missed. But these 20 are the ones that stood out to me the most. I will say as I go through this list, the ones that I have from like 20th place down to like 11th, I think they're good albums, but not necessarily great albums. Like, I like them. I think they're worth checking out. I don't necessarily think they are, like, amazing that I love. But then as I get into the top 10, those are the ones that really struck a chord with me this month that I think you should definitely check out. So anyways, without further ado, let's just get into this. Like I said, 20 albums this month, so here we go. Up first in 20th, I'm going with The Gauntlet and their album Dark, Steel, and Fire. So this is a band from New Jersey. I believe it's a one-man band, plays like black and roll, blackened heavy metal. Really, there's a ton of bands out there that kind of have this old school vibe. This is not necessarily bringing anything unique to the table, but it's a fun listen. It's exactly what you want in this kind of music. Like, think like the style of like Midnight would be a good example. If you're into that, definitely go check out this album. There's shades of early Bathory in here as well. If you're just looking for a good blackened heavy metal time, definitely go check out this album. Up next at number 19, I'm going with Esoctrilihum and the new album Funeral. So the one-man band from France, very experimental black metal, put out so many albums in such a short amount of time, but honestly, I'm starting to feel like he's putting out too much material in this short amount of time. A few albums ago, I absolutely loved everything he was putting out, like Eternity of Sheog and Dieth's Requiem of the Serpent Telepath, and then the last few have not been quite up to the level of those albums, but this is still enjoyable. It is 80 minutes long. It's a lot to digest. And I kind of feel like I've heard this before from him. It's not necessarily bringing a whole bunch new to the table. Has incorporated in some new styles of clean vocals, which were interesting and I do enjoy. But honestly, I feel like it's a little bit too much too soon from this project. He released 2 full lengths last year and already one in January. Like, slow it down. We don't need this much material from one band. As much as I enjoy it, I would like you to take this guy to take a little bit more time with these releases, maybe flesh out the songs a little bit better, trim it down. But that being said, if you've liked previous Esoctrilihum albums, I'm sure you'll get some enjoyment out of this. I can't rank it too much higher than this because it's just not striking the same chord with me as previous releases did, but it's still decent. Go check it out. Up next, let's switch it up to some power metal with the Lightbringer of Sweden and the new album, The New World Order. So this is just straight ahead, catchy, anthemic power metal. Exactly what you want in this style. The vocals are great. The guitar hooks are awesome. Really well done album. Won't talk too long about it, but if you're into this style of power metal, definitely go give it a listen. You'll be singing along and banging your head in no time. Really well done stuff. That's what's on my list. All right, up next, something a little bit different. Going with Ashen, Horde and the new album Antimony. So this is some progressive black metal from the USA. Features some members from the band Abhorria, who that band had released their full length last year, which I really dug, had some really cool riffs, and you can kind of see the overlapping themes. This is a little bit different than Abhorria, but nonetheless, if you liked that, I'm sure you'll get some enjoyment here. A lot of great guitar riffs, some interesting song structures. All in all, very enjoyable, engaging listen, so definitely go check out Ashen Horde if you have not. All right, now for something completely different, going with Tribunal and their album, The Weight of Remembrance. So this is some gothic doom metal mixed with like death doom. Best comparison I can give would be My Dying Bride, where you've got the low vocals, but then also some more gothic influence with some clean vocals, and there's some female vocals as well. There's a lot of cello, and it's just a very unique take on the genre. It's a very engaging album. I need to spend more time with this one, to be honest. I've only listened to it like 2 or 3 times. This could rise even higher. It's a very interesting album. If anything I just said sounds like it would interest you, strongly recommend going and check this one out. All right, up next at number 15, I'm going with Imperium Dekadenz and their album Into Sorrow Evermore. This is some German black metal. This would be for fans of bands like Waldgeflüster, who's also from Germany, or Winterfillet from the UK. Just really awesome, like nature-based, sorrowful, melancholic black metal, full of great riffs and great songs. All-around solid album, in at number 15. All right, up next at number 14, going with Obituary and their new album, Dying of Everything. So death metal legends don't really need any introduction here. I did a discography ranking for Obituary a little while back, and yeah, this one was actually closer to the top than to the bottom. This is, in my opinion, the best album they've put out in quite some time. But that being said, I still don't think it's necessarily like spectacular like their best albums. There are some really standout moments here that are really headbangable, but there's still some filler that I could do without. But all in all, it's a pretty solid album. I do enjoy it. I do listen to it. I'll be going back and listening to it some more. While it's not outstanding, it's pretty good, and that's why it's on this list. Up next at number 13, I'm going with Oak Pantheon and their new album, The Absence. This is a band from Minneapolis, plays a very unique blend of like progressive black metal, post-metal, folk, kind of all mixed together. Their first album was what introduced me to them years ago, and I really dug that album a lot. Their sophomore album didn't really stick with me in the same way, and this one I feel is somewhere in between. I don't think it's quite as good as their debut, but it's a little bit better than their second album. There's a lot going on, a lot of different like influences and styles, even from song to song, but all in all, it's a very interesting album. I do dig it. Go check out Oak Pantheon if you have not. All right, up next at number 12, I'm going with Ahab and the new album, The Coral Tombs. So one of the biggest bands out there in the funeral doom genre. Admittedly, funeral doom is not my go-to genre. I don't listen to a ton of it. So that being said, this probably isn't resonating with me in the same way that it might be with others, but I do still find this very enjoyable. It's a well-done album. I like it. I don't necessarily love it. I feel like the clean vocals leave a little bit to be desired. They could be a little bit better done, but the songwriting is great. It's a thoroughly engaging album. It's heavy. It's interesting. There's ebbs and flows. Really well done stuff. It didn't quite make my top 10, but easily could be there as I spend more time with it. So yeah, in today at number 12. Up next at number 11, I'm going with Crom and the new album, The Era of Darkness. This is some epic heavy metal mixed with shades of power metal. They are from Germany. The main dude in the band actually used to be in Dark Fortress, just on their first album, which is pretty cool. There's not really any resemblance between the two bands here, but this is just catchy and fun. Another one where the vocals maybe aren't the greatest, but the songs themselves stand out. It's a fun listen. It makes you want to take a sword, start chopping through the battlefields. Like, it's just that kind of fun metal, and I love these kind of albums. Really solid stuff. Just missed out on the top 10. All right, now we're into the best of the best, my 10 favorite albums from the month of January. So in 10th place is one that I surely do not know how to pronounce. Check the descriptions down below to see this one. I believe it is something like Ȯπλίτης. This is a one-man band from China, but all the song titles and band name are in Greek. So yeah, check out the Greek name down below. I'm not even going to try to say the album name either, but you can see, go copy and paste it and listen to it. This is some progressive black metal with hints of death metal in there. Very avant-garde, very out there. Like, this is kind of a wild album, but I like the ride that it takes you on. You never really know what's coming next. It's a lot of short songs, but there's a couple longer ones to spice it up, and it's just a super interesting, engaging listen from start to finish. Like I said, you never really know what's coming. Definitely go check out this album if you have not. Tell me how to say it if you know how, because I have no idea. But yeah, go check it out. Up next at number 9, I am going with Bizarrekult and their new album, Den Tapte Krigen. So this is some black metal. It's really quite the dynamic range on this album. I really enjoyed the previous album that this project had put out, and this one maybe even has improved on that template. They incorporate in some female vocals. There's like these post-metal moments, but then it's got these really harsh, straight-ahead black metal riffs and moments as well. It's just great from start to finish. I really dig it. As I spend more time with it, this could even rise higher than 9th. I just haven't spent the amount of time with this album that I have with some of these others that I'm going to talk about right away. But definitely go check out the Bizarrekult album if you have not. Up next at number 8, I'm going with And Oceans and their new album, As in Gardens, So in Tombs. So this is some symphonic black metal from Finland. I don't want to just label it just as symphonic black metal. There's a lot more going on than that. There's definitely a huge like Dimmu Borgir influence, at least to my ears. That's what I hear, like early Dimmu when they were still good. I hear that in a lot of these songs. But this is just a great album from start to finish. There's not really any songs where I don't like it. Like every single song hits the mark here. I really dig this. If you have not checked it out, definitely go give it a listen. All right, moving this right along. Up next at number 7, I'm going with Vospud and their album Heklugja. Probably mispronouncing all that. This is probably a lesser known one. This is some black metal from Iceland. It's got really long, expansive tracks here. Like a lot of the songs are like 15, 16 minutes. This is just great to get lost in. It kind of transports you to Iceland. That's what it feels like. You're just on a voyage through the ice and snow. Maybe some tracks could be trimmed a little bit. They do tend to drag, but that doesn't hold it back too much. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed these longer tracks on this album. So the fact that I'm saying some of them could be trimmed, don't take that as too much of a negative. Just go into this with your eyes open and ready to experience some long black metal songs that are easy to get lost in, transports you to another place. Awesome, awesome stuff. In 7th place. Sticking with black metal, in at 6th, I'm going with Inherits the Void and the new album, The Impending Fall of the Stars. Check out that album art. Like, that is fucking awesome. You think based on that this is maybe some like cosmic black metal. Maybe there's some shades of that, but this is more of like melodic black metal. This is a one-man band from France. The songs on here, the riffs and the styles, it really reminds me of Dawn a lot. If you know the band Dawn with like their album Slaughter Sun, this really kind of brings in those shades. Like you could maybe hear Dissection or Winterland, stuff in that vein. But it's still got some nice atmosphere to it as well. Really catchy, great riffs. I really am digging this album a lot. Just missed out on my top 5, but in at 6th place with how stacked this month is no small feat. Go check out Inherits the Void. All right, 5 more to go. My 5 favorite albums from January. In 5th place, I am going with Lord Mountain and their album The Oath. So this is some doom metal from the USA. This is like pure Black Sabbath worship, but in the best way. There's also moments of like epic metal influence. Just like twin guitar parts that might remind you of Iron Maiden for 1 second in one song. Another one that maybe reminds me of like Manila Road a little bit. But all in all, this is like pure Black Sabbath worship overall with some other influence spiced in there as well. The vocalist even sounds a lot like Ozzy when he was in Sabbath. But man, riffs for days on this album. You will be headbanging along to these juicy, meaty, doomy riffs. The opening track, just go listen to that, see what you're in store for. Try not to headbang to it. It's fucking awesome. Great album. Could even be higher than 5th, but for today, it's in 5th place. All right, up next in 4th, going with an album that just came out this past Friday, so I haven't spent a ton of time with it yet. Could rise even higher, but it's impressed me enough to be in my top 5, and that is Firienholt with White Frost and Elder Blood. Another one with an amazing album cover. I mean, look at that. This is a project from England. Plays like epic atmospheric black metal mixed with like ambient and dungeon synth. Their debut album came out, was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember, but it was very well done. Definitely bands that they'll get compared to are like Summoning, Caladan Brood, Eldamar. I do find that the sound overall on Firienholt, it's a little bit thinner than some of those bands. Like Caladan Brood sounds massive. This doesn't have that massive feel, but I don't want to just compare it to another project. Like, take this on its own, even if the sound is a little bit thinner, it still really works. Like, it's labeled as epic atmospheric black metal, but there's not that much black metal here, to be honest, other than the harsh vocals. This really is focused around the keyboard parts. Like, there's some nice guitar melodies, but the clean sung choruses are the highlight here. There's catchy, you'll be singing along, and this is just so easy to listen to. You drift off and you're just transported to fantasy lands, and it's very enjoyable. Really good stuff. If you're into any of those bands that I just mentioned, definitely go give this a listen. I think this is even better than their debut. Their debut was good, but there was some things I felt they could have worked on, and this one has improved upon that template, and I can't wait to see what they even do next if they keep improving and moving forward. But yeah, great album. Definitely go give it a listen. Up next at number 3, an album that I did a review for, which is Iravu and A Fate Worse Than Home. I think I only did one new album review this month. That's not enough. Now that I'm thinking about this, I gotta change that next month. I will make sure I do at least a couple new album reviews. I usually like to do 2 or 3 every month, so I'll try to change that in February. But anyways, go check out the review I did on this album if you did not check it out. This is one-man atmospheric black metal from Malaysia. I don't know too many bands from Malaysia, so that's pretty cool. This is definitely a huge influence of Mare Cognitum, like cosmic atmospheric black metal, big wall of sound. But man, this guy can shred on the guitar. Go listen to the song Fear and Lead if you have not heard it. The opening riff almost sounds like Chuck Schuldiner, like from Death, but in a black metal setting. And the way it just keeps going back to that, it's fucking awesome. This is a short album. Sometimes with these like cosmic atmospheric black metals, you get like 80, 90-minute albums. This one's very short and to the point. It's only like 5 tracks, and I actually really dig that it's short. Very solid release. Go listen to it if you have not. All right, 2 more to go. I knew these 2 were going to be my top 2, but what order? I've been kind of tossing this back and forth. I'm not really sure. This could flip-flop any given day. But for today, in second place, I'm going with Thy Darkened Shade and their album Liber Lvcifer 2 Mahapralaya. Probably mispronouncing that. This is some black metal from Greece. And wow, does this album just absolutely floor me. Another one with an awesome album cover as well. Check out all the album arts this month. Absolutely insane. This is some very complex black metal, very sophisticated songwriting. It's got like these choral style vocals in parts, and even when it's not the like choir type vocals, it's got very interesting vocals, changes the style very much throughout a song. It's like avant-garde and weird, but man, this is a juicy black metal album. Like, front to back, this is fucking great. Shades of like Deathspell Omega in parts, or Abigor in other parts. It's just a whirlwind of chaos, but it works so well. Can't recommend this one enough. Definitely the best black metal album of the month, in my opinion anyways, which it's just my opinion, doesn't mean much, but go check this one out if you have not. And that just leaves one, my favorite album of January. Maybe is a big surprise after I listed half these black metal albums. This one is the opposite of that, and that is Twilight Force with At the Heart of Winter Veil. So some symphonic power metal, over the top cheesiness, but I don't care. This is definitely the album I'm going to be going back to the most because it is so catchy and sing-alongable. If you haven't heard this band before, best comparison would be a band like Rhapsody, or Rhapsody of Fire. But this is different as well. Like, it's got almost like these sparkly, twinkly keys in parts, which is definitely not going to be for everyone. I know it sounds way too happy, but man, this is so replayable. You are going to be singing along to these choruses. They're so great. Like, I was a big fan of this band's debut album when it came out, and then their second album, I kind of lost a little bit of interest. That one didn't really, like, it didn't hit the same levels. It was a little bit too much. It was way too long. The songs weren't as good. Then they changed singers for their third album. They brought in Alessandro Conti, who used to be in like Luca Turilli's Rhapsody. And wow, that third album was absolutely amazing. I loved it. So I loved the band again. And now this being their 4th album, possibly their best one. I don't know. I'm not going to do a full ranking right now. That's not what this video is about. But man, yeah, if you just love catchy symphonic power metal, look no further than this album. And another one with a great album cover. Come on, for a power metal album, that dragon on the front doesn't get much better than that. Fucking great. Can't recommend this one enough. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but if you're into power metal, go check this out. You will be singing along in no time. Anyways, these are just my thoughts and opinions as usual. Love to get yours down below. Let me know what you thought of all these albums. Let me know which ones I've missed. And until next time, Hammer Heart Metal Reviews, out.